All right, well, thank you very much, guys, on the desk as well, providing that nice little intro into the match at hand. And of course, it is the San Francisco Shock playing up against the Dallas Fuel here in our second knockout match. The winner of this one will be going on to play the Houston Outlaws. So a lot on the line here. We already know that the Shock, they want to be playing against Houston. That's what they've got in their sights. It was the one team that took them down, that made them bleed earlier in the season. But the Dallas Fuel are the team that's standing in their way. And they're no slouches, Jack. Not any slouches at all. I don't know where I was going with that sentence. No slouch
You're
at
not slouching you in a chair. They have their chairs upright.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of
good
what
posture.
Do you do? Stand upright, good posture, shoulders back, chest out. You know, good posture, ready to game. Yeah, I game like this every single day. You see this posture? It's pretty.
Jake
clean.
is Jake's very big on posture stuff.
He is.
Yeah, just throw that in there.
He talks about when we were living with him last year. He talked a lot about that, like posture, making sure the blood flow is good to your hands and knees. And then I'm like, I'm sitting like Poco, like legs up, like one hand under my foot, under my leg, you know, play on the mouse. Yeah, my posture is not great, not gonna lie. But speaking of posture, you know who's been the backbone of the Fuel, Bren?
Who?
It's been Fearless.
That's a wonderful transition.
At the game. I know, it's fantastic.
Done.
I worked on it for all about 2 seconds. Fearless has been absolutely incredible this season, man. He set a record on Gibraltar for primal rage kills. He can play the Winston to a high level. He can play the Rhine to a high level. And this team is built for success, Brent. Like, that is what the Fuel came into the season to do. They built this for success, and Custer put it on the desk, and you know, might be why I like Dallas Fuel this season. A little bit of Element Mystic fandom in there. And the only problem I really saw with them, Brent, was that they shuffled their supports a whole bunch. Jexay and Fielder, they kind of swap around. They then bring in Repel sometimes. And it's been a bit hard to tell who's going to play what map. Sometimes you'd say, like, okay, so we want to run Rush, we want to run these two supports. We want to run Double Bubble, we run these two. Like, it's a bit more difficult to tell, I would say. And unlike the Shock, it feels like, because they've been running almost the same roster for the last couple of games. They've subbed in Smurf a couple of times, but it has actually been super playing the Monkeys some of these times, and some of the Wrecking Ball too, and the Reinhardt as well.
Absolutely. In terms of the tank line, it's remained kind of pretty solid and stationary, but they have been making some wacky choices as well with their subs. I mean, Violet's been playing DPS.
I love it, man.
They brought Twilight in, and they do like to play this musical chairs when it comes to these roles. And at the times, I mean, you can argue that it's kind of hurt the Shock in the past, I think, over the course of this season. And I feel like they're steadily learning, okay, what is the limitations in terms of what we can get away with. And funnily enough, I mean, it's one team like the Dallas Fuel. It's almost like the limitations in terms of compositions they can play. Because obviously, Xe was supposed to be in this roster as one of the primary long-range hit scan players. And because he can't play, Custer hit it beautifully on the desk. He said that they have to play all these little twists and turns on these standard compositions. And it's good. It's good because it means it's niche and teams don't know how to play against it. But when it doesn't work, it really hurts your chances. And honestly, I think this is a really terrible matchup because they're up against the Shock here. And if there's any team that is going to be doing immense prep work in terms of understanding how a team likes to play and what to do against it, it's going to be this team right here.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to spot the imposter pretty quick, you know, whether that's Sparkle on the Doomfist or on the Genji. Why? They're a little bit sussy sometimes, you know?
Oh my god. Get this guy out of here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, carry on.
Anyway. Yeah, Sparkle, I like the comms they have been playing because, like Custer said, twists and turns here and there, a little bit of a different look almost every single time we kind of see them run these comps. Sparkle's Tracer has been nothing to scoff at, mind you. A lot of people did kind of say, Sparkle Tracer, I don't think it's that good. He came out the gate with it, he looked actually okay. We're not talking like striker levels, Yaki levels of Tracer. Oh no, but still looking pretty decent on it. But when they do add those pinches of flair, like the double shield with a Genji, or Sparkle playing his famous Doomfist, they look not bad. I'm excited to see the Dallas Fuel this season, absolutely. But Hunbid has also been a fantastic pickup because this guy is an absolute animal on the off tank, and especially when he plays double shield or when he can get his hands on a diva. This guy looks ridiculous. He's going up against one of the best divas in the game, though, in Choi. But we'll have to see how he fares. Sparkle on the Symmetra, though, to TP out the gate, and it looks a little bit more of a village comp from Nepal rather than a mecha-based comp. But there you go, TP behind them. Oh no, denied completely actually. The wall came in front.
The wall comes through. Shock have actually been pushed down to the lower ground now, but the battle continues. Nero does not want to get caught out of position here. Trying to get the freeze up onto Fearless. Fearless facing away now. The Amp Matrix goes down. Another freeze comes through. Nero just about getting into the ice block. The point will flip over to Dallas here, but the player's still alive now for the Shock, backing out of the fight. The Amp Matrix used from the high ground here, and that is brutal! Striker, given all the damage in the world to work with here. Violet as well, just raining down the heels, keeping their team nice and healthy. It was a moment that they let the Dallas Fuel take over that point, but straight back into it with the ultimates being committed.
Two of the scariest people, Brent, to have behind a window, right? Striker and Violet just killing your entire team. Like, those McCree shots do a lot of damage when you hit him in the head. Like, there's nothing stopping them. I love the TP out actually from the choke point, stops you getting kind of bogged. However, Nero is going to bog them a little bit further, but big shatter actually not bad. Super lays it down. Striker lets loose the Deadeye, killing Jexer. They used Blizzard too, which is a little bit of a surprise. I thought you'd save that for the next fight, but I guess you get almost a complete team kill here.
Yeah, kind of nasty, honestly. Just Super recognizing that they weren't going to be. I mean, honestly, the Fuel should have recognized that maybe Super was going to be wrapping around, but it's in the past now. Dallas Fuel, with ultimates to use, the Sim Shield as well to initiating could be great for them. They just need to decide which kind of choke point they want to be prioritizing to push through. Hanbin comes up.
A bait. Oh my, he took the bait. Hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, he took the bait. The Blizzard comes through. Dallas trying to turn it around. Oh. Fearless, that is massive. What an earth shatter. And that set up their team beautifully now to pick up all of these players. Has to hold the shield here. You've got to respect Striker, but Striker will fall shortly afterwards. Despite that early loss of Hanbin, the Dallas Fuel managed to turn it into a benefit. Just immediately just diving in with the ultimates. What a shatter from Fearless.
I'm glad we sung his praise at the very start, because that shadow was someone else. Instantly won the team fight for them as soon as that wall came down. I'll be scared though right now. They do have Striker and Violet sitting behind this window, or they will do in a couple of seconds. That wall's already been used as well. However, a humongous wall used by Sparkle to separate the rest of the Shock.
Yeah, this gets so difficult to try and push through here with this symbol up close. The Shock have kind of wrapped around and taken a high ground approach, but look at this damage. Dallas Fuel opting to use the sound barrier here just to really seal out this win. It looked like they were winning the team fight anyway. You can argue it was a bit of a waste, but it does indeed let them win the team fight without taking any more casualties. So still holding at the choke points here. And this TP, underrated aspect of it as well, Jules. The fact that you can just chop and change between the choke points at a whim. Very, very powerful.
It looks like they were trying to sneak there, but Violet wasn't holding crouch. It didn't work. Oh, the shadow gets blocked by the wall, Brent.
Yeah, this is wonderful play from Doha. You can see the Amp Matrix is used there by Dallas. Striker trying to opt around into the high ground here, but he's being pressured from the side. Violet goes down. That's going to be a significant lack of heals and damage now. Shock have got to go back here and rethink how they're going to be pushing into this one, but FD God actually walks away with a two-piece. FD God actually finding so many opportunities for the team to try and clutch this up. He said he wasn't happy with his performance recently, but he's turning up right now when it matters still. Shock need to consider, do they need to back out of this fight? They still look like they want to fight this one because Violet is back into the action.
Man, it's such an aggressive Lucio player. FD God, it seems like a stark contrast to what Moth was on the team. This guy just goes for solo kills almost. Wall's going to come out again, Brent. Super's in trouble.
Yeah, the sound barrier will connect onto all of them, but Super frozen up. The Immortality Field is just a little bit too late here, and as the overtime burns now for Dallas, they're in prime position to take this away. Self-destruct actually catches onto Sparkle, and that's a lot of damage going to be missing now. Nero going to be stalling this one out as the Ice Box is used. Oh, Striker in a bit of trouble. Overtime needs to be pushed now. Still the Shock not going to be able to get back onto the point, and the Dallas Fuel are the ones who are walking away with round number 1 in this map.
Man, these walls from Doha are crazy. These massive ice walls separating the Shock. He managed to block a shatter. You saw at the very end there, he managed to catch Striker too. Striker did manage to get down a pillar because the wall was just behind the window, so it like one-shot one of the pillars as he was using Fan the Hammer, but it didn't matter in the end. Man, Doha is doing so well. The May coming into this meta is just so important. You can win fights just off of that wall alone. Isolating a tank or isolating a DPS is perfect. Oh, the beat got interrupted as well. Yeah, we completely missed that as the fight ended instantly. Jeez, that Fearless and Doha are having a standout game, Brent.
Dallas Fuel really showcasing that despite the fact that they're playing in these niche compositions, these slight changes, they can still hang with the big boys.
Oh,
big Bionade! Wow, that's great from Field. The 3 targets going to be getting very low. Super just has to hold the shield against this one. Trying to swing into them, but a nice shield bash from Jexa will force him away for the time being, and now the shield is getting brought very, very low. Another huge Bionade. Doha combos it up as well, as he's moved over to the Echo. The sticky bomb's getting so much work done, and the point is unlocked. They're going to stagger out Choi at the tail end of this fight. Dallas Fuel looking like they have a great read and understanding of what they want to do here on Busan.
Yeah, and have an understanding of how they want to play against the Shock too. The Shock want to hold in that mega health pack room, supplement their healing, and then control a lot of that space as the point unlocks. Bearing in mind, Bren, I spoke to you a little bit about it before this day even began, but Shock a 9-1 lifetime record against the Dallas Fuel. The last loss they received against them was their very first match back in 2018. This could be a complete flip around. There's a nano boost actually onto Fearless. He does get frozen. However, Clone Shad is going to hit 3 people. Doha's going crazy, man.
I mean, this is ridiculous. The Dallas Fuel, again, exceeding all expectations. Tries to go for the other Shadow. He's not going to be finding any targets here. 40% and counting for the Dallas Fuel. That's what it's going to be. And the Shock are making some adaptations. Violet moves over to the Moira. Very good at trying to withstand a lot of the burst damage the Dallas Fuel are trying to put out onto them when the Shock are moving through these choke points. They're going to be trying to build up this Coalescence quick.
Ooh,
nice by Choi. Wonderful spot. The Sandbar is going to be used as well. The Shock want to be contesting this fight. They can find a target. Another big Bionade is going to be forcing the Shock back for a time being, but now they're going to be engaging back in. Dallas Fuel have to use ultimates here, and a big Self-Destruct will catch on to FD. Got with the Blizzard is going to set them up. They need to take out Jexa, but look at the peel coming out from Hanbin. Great defense matrix, saves him for a time. It's still an even fight right now, Jack. It looks like the Dallas Fuel are the ones who are coming out on top.
Yeah, that peel from Hanbin there to make sure Jexa didn't go down instantly was ridiculous. He defense matrix those icicles after Nero managed to freeze him up, and that allowed Fearless and Fielder a little bit more time in that fight. And you saw the kill feed, what happened. Fielder killed 2, and then Fearless killed 2 as well. And now the Dallas Fuel 10% away from taking this first map, Bren. A very quick engage as Super swaps the ball to get the touch in OT.
And the point's going to be contested here. Super tries to get the environmental kill, but Violet goes down. And that would have been a critical pick-off. Not going to have the Coalescence being built up in this team fight. FD God falls next. It's all crumbling for them. Nero will get the 1. You don't want to count the Shock out just yet, but the Dallas Fuel have got great control over the way that this fight is going. The Pulse Bomb will bring an end to it. Nero trying to clutch it up as Fielder will fall, but a Striker goes down. The overtime is going to start to get burnt down. Violet with no more fade. It's looking almost inevitable once more here. The Dallas Fuel, I'll be honest with you, Jack, no one was really expecting this. They thought the possibility could be there of the upset, but the Dallas Fuel are showcasing that it's a very, very real threat. 1-0 in this series early on, and the Shock, they look dumbfounded.
Yeah, you look at Sparkle's face, man. He is grinning ear to ear. He knows how big momentum is for them right now going into this next map. Yeah, the Shock looking a little bit more glum, but the expectations for the Shock to come in were that they were kind of, I wouldn't say roll, but it was definitely going to be in their favor. The entire DES said Shock was going to win. I can imagine the predictions from the community were probably the same thing. Yeah, they had a shaky game against Atlanta, but they sweeped Mayhem in record time, 3-0 in their series a week or so ago. Wow. This is good. This is very, very good for the Fuel. However, we are going on to Assault next, Bren, and currently in this season, the Shock are 4-0. They've not lost a single map of it, and it's their choice too.
It is, yes. They get to pick what map we're going into next. It is loser's pick moving forwards from this point on. And it is going to be up to the Shock to decide how they want to be taking this series further forward. The Dallas Fuel, though, again, are setting all expectations, leading 1-0 in this series. And we're going to find out on the other side of the break if it's possible. Can the Shock battle back? Will they make it a bit of a closer series? Well, we're going to find out soon enough. Do not go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
We've loved the art pieces you've sent us so far, so for the upcoming May Melee tournament, send us your best art celebrating the hero May for a chance to be featured on the fan art gallery by Coca-Cola. That's right, you can see the link on your screens just there, the overwatchleague.com/art-gallery. What is it called? Is it dash? How do you pronounce that, Jules?
It's dash.
No.
Yeah,
is it
dash?
dash?
It's not an underscore, it's just a dash.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
you got it right. It's all good.
Nailed it. There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, so submit your artwork as we head into our power rankings with IBM Watson. And you can see here how the table has turned, actually. Beautiful work from tank line of the Dallas Fuel. Fearless and Hanbin sitting pretty, 13 and 14.
Yeah, Super's there at number 17. So, well, you can kind of already see how it's going, especially in this series so far. I think up 1-0. Fearless just having the absolute game of his life. Hanbin as well. Like, this team just meshes together extraordinarily. And you could definitely say it. So back from the Element Mystic kind of days, right, where a lot of these players did end up playing together. But I think bringing them onto a team like this, especially with Fearless, who's been in the league for 3 years at this point, and is a base of the Cinderella. Yeah, that's it. Cinderella story of the Overwatch League.
Yeah,
0 and 14
sure.
in Season 1 on the Shanghai Dragons, and then making their grand return. Man, this guy is a monster. Speaking of monsters, though, let's talk about the substitutions. Yep. Violet. He's back in, baby. He's on the DPS.
He is. He's back in as well as we're heading into the next map, and you can see the chops and changes onto Assault. Now, some keen watchers will be able to recognize, okay, if they're making these adjustments, yep, we're heading into Volskaya, because that's typically the composition that the Shock have ran in the past. They know that Smurf is going to be playing a lot of the Winston primarily, so they're going to be putting him in that position to succeed, and that's why they've got him in alongside it. But there is some highlighted difficulties, I think, here for the Dallas Fuel as we head into our map leaderboards of Volskaya Industries. You can see the Shock, no strangers to fast time banks here against the Florida Mayhem back in 2019 with a 5-minute 29 time bank. Going to be looking to try and set some kind of record like that again. The Hunters versus the Shock in against Shanghai in 2019 is interesting.
Yeah.
With a high time bank. I mean, I may have just wiped that from my memory, but given how these teams have been, you never know with Chengdu. Different beast these days,
you never know with Chengdu. Everybody's entered the Chengdu zone this season.
The point I wanted to get onto is that when they're running Violet in this DPS position, they're not going to be running the long-range hit scan that you always see on Volskaya. They're going to be running Violet on McCree. It's what he's comfortable with. And it adds some limitations to the comp, but it actually works kind of well, given that Dallas have seen a tendency to play a lot of Tracer and a lot of Sombra. I mean, the flashbang on the McCree just adds an extra deterrent, I think, from those particular heroes from getting a lot of work done. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Dallas will end up playing around that.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go, Brent. It's already paid off for you. Violet locking in the Cree. And Twilight's the person I want to touch on as well, Brent, because he came in the other day for the Shocks, same map, same scenario. When they're on the defense, they run him on the Ana to get these anti-nades, and that was his 3rd map of the season. And he basically single-handedly won it for him, Brent, just with anti-nades. It was ridiculous. The guy's a god gamer, and the Shock bench is insane. Let's be real with ourselves here. And the flexibility too, of course, having Violet being able to play 2 roles. They have a Smurf, a crazy good Winston. They have Super, who's a crazy good Reinhardt. And then they have Twilight as well. I was curious to see how Twilight fit in with the roster in the postseason, or sorry, in the pre-season even. I was like, why would you want to sub out Violet ever? This kind of makes sense. This kind of setup. If he can do the same thing he did yesterday, yeah, no, it's going to be a good map, that's for sure. Fuel, though, are going to try and counteract what they got going on. They're going to run full aggressive dive. Even Sparkle, bro, he's playing the Reaper. They want to get up close and personal, make sure Twilight doesn't have room to get these anti-nades in before they engage.
See the attempts now, and the counter dive from Smurf actually trying to block them off. The bubble, oh, it's not enough. Sparkle just eviscerates him, takes him out of the game. And a Shock have got to think, okay, how do we even salvage this one now? The Dallas Fuel obviously not going to be letting up in the slightest. Everybody moving up to the high ground here, but the point is being contested. The Shock have but a moment now to try and recontest this one. They haven't been pushed off the high ground position. Again, the bubble. Nice sleep dart here onto Sparkle. It's going to take him out of the team fight. Nobody on the point as well, which is an important factor in this one. FD God going down early, could hammer it, and now the Coalescence is just going to beam them all down. Nobody can really withstand that one, especially with how grouped up they were playing. The Dallas Fuel operating on a different level right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a WM1 comp, right? You just run forwards, hit M1, and especially if you're fielder. It's, yeah, quite interactive playing Moira in this comp, because you just hold M1 and throw out an orb every now and then. And then you get Coalescence, you hit Q. Mouse one.
You're very PC-only minded, you know?
Oh, sorry.
You're not worried about the console players,
anyway, EMP, it's 1, and it's Striker, and he's not going to die. Smurf gets nano.
That's true. Yeah. It's going to be finding a lack of value from that one, but still the Shock, they want to bounce right back into this one. Violet on the Echo. All right, why not? Ooh, and it has worked out for them here. The Shock making these adaptations.
They ran down the Mega Health Pack room there. Doha was like, okay, we've got EMP, we can just run at them. As soon as they try and match us, we'll hit EMP, and then we'll kill them all. Problem is, the EMP hit Striker, and then Striker just kind of stood there, and he was all right. I'm not saying, you know, Tracer hitbox, pretty hard to hit sometimes, not when you've got all this WM1 power, or, you know, forward push, whatever you want to call it, Brent. But the problem is you didn't catch any of the tanks. They were able to then re-engage, and Choi hit a big grab because the whole of the Dallas Fuel of rolling is this just giant boulder towards you.
Sparkle does have the Death Blossom ready and waiting, but the backline has been really shut down here. Doha was trying to get some value done, but FD was the one to get the kill. And now with the Primal Rage from Smurf just about fading, he's bought enough time for them. Sparkle tries to get away with it. Look at that shutdown. The Shock were ready and waiting. They could read that the ultimate was coming, and the Shield Blast was there just in time. Violet now moving forwards, and he's got so much burst damage. Look at that, being quite stretching. You can argue that he might be a little bit uncomfortable moving over to this role. It is unusual for him to be playing this one, but it kind of fits him pretty well, I suppose. You know, he's pretty proficient when it comes to playing a multitude of heroes, so it does make a little bit of sense that he'd be on the action.
I was just trying to think how it would be said in a controller term. So, left stick forward, right trigger, so RT.
Yep.
LS
that's the
forward RT. There you go. LS forward RT. Let's go. The comp. Striker has pulse though, mate. Fearless is trying to appeal for the backline as Smurf did get nanoed and they're pushing forward. Shocker in a very good position now, Brent. They've got copy, they've got pulse, and they're going to have Choi's grab coming up soon as well. All they need to do is grab the front line or even force Fielder, Brent, to use that fade. As soon as he does, he is so vulnerable. Striker's setting up for it now, trying to force that fade out of him.
Yeah, trying to get the cooldowns out. Very, very important. Coalescence comes through though, so Fielder's going to be locked up. And look at that perfect grab. They knew what the timing was coming for, but immediately Jex are going to be using that sound barrier. But Violet duplicating into the Lucio is going to match them again. It is going to force out the EMP as it's going to cleanse off a lot of what the sound barrier was doing. The Self-Destruct does not get too much work done, and the Shock's doing a good job of just kiting them around. Violet still alive in its fight, laying down consistent work. Hanbin eventually going to be removing him from the fight, but not before paying with his mech. The fight going on. Fearless just trying to set his team up for success here with the Primal Rage, and he does catch one. FD God forced out of it. Both the supports going down here. The Nano Boost is going to be onto Choi as a last-ditch effort to try and save this one, but he's getting chunked down also. 2.5 minutes left remaining. Violet desperate to try and clutch this one up with Striker.
Absolute God Gamer alert from Fearless. He managed to get the nano into the Primal Rage both supports, and now they can open up with the cold to push them all back. It's going to be tough for Shock to come into this one, but they got the rally to do it, Brent.
Yeah, the rally armor is going to be so big, and Hanbin gets taken down, could not remech in time. It's going to be taken out of this fight. Sparkle being forced off into the corners of this map here, and the Shock have managed to do it. They've staved them off. They don't want to overextend too much here, but Fearless going down means that they can push forward without fear of being punished. And that is a wonderful recontest from the Shock there. I mean, the presence of mind, I think, from the Shock to recognize that they've used the Coalescence, they haven't capped that much. Okay, we'll just wait it out, and wait it out, and wait it out. And the last-minute recontest, they don't even let them get the second tick, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, the Fuel needed some more fuel in their tank at the end of it. They needed something else to shut down that rally or just shut down one of the extra supports. Doha had that EMP at the very end and it just wasn't worth committing. He's now hunting, spying on the supports, Twilight and FD God. Like I mentioned before, he just needs to have that hack the brig and they should be good to go. Translocator goes up, EMP hits and it hits FD God, Choi and Violet.
Yeah, it's going to be catching onto the necessary targets. Smurf gets taken down. Striker tried to set something up, and Hanbin denying it. Going to be getting that pulse bomb. Duplicate comes off now with the bubble as well. Violet wants to try and clutch this one, but it's so hard to play into the Coalescence. Gets the healing though. Nano boost. It's massive coming out from him. Pulse bomb's going to miss as well. Sparkle, he's not going to be able to do this for them, and that's given the Shock an opening again. Violet's still alive, putting out so much damage. They just cannot withstand the pressure that Shock are emitting right now. And again, they fall short of the mark. Unable to just squeeze out that third tick. 74.6%.
Twilight again saves the day, Bren. He gets the nano off onto Choi. Choi survives. He kills Filder, and then Sparkle misses. Not only misses Pulse, Twilight sleeps him, and then kills him at the very end. Like, that is insane. What more can you really want from your Ana player? Bren, we're heading into the last 15 seconds. Sparkle, he's chosen shooty shotgun man. Can he get? Oh, he didn't teleport correctly and actually landed on the ledge, so he can't actually now punish Smurf, who's going to drop on him.
That's going to be so bad for them now. The grab is going to be connecting onto a lot of them. Sparkle does end up taking down Smurf, though. Self-destruct from the high ground. Warming the remake. The EMP catches onto everyone alive onto the Shock. Is it enough to try and clean this one up? The damage is too much. Violet's still alive as the rally was still active. The bubbles have come back on as well. The players are taken off the point, and that will be the Dallas Fuel unable to complete that second checkpoint. The Shock are just so good at the disengage, the re-engage, the push and pull of the compositions. I really do feel like sometimes I sing the praises of the Shock a little bit too much, but it is very impressive, especially from the time bank that the Dallas Fuel had. They had all the momentum behind them.
Yeah, they did. And the point you brought up there, Brian, was perfect. They know exactly how much they can pull and how much they can push. They know when to disengage, and they know to go for this big re-engage. It's very disciplined. From FD God and Twilight, they knew they had Rally coming back into that fight, so they were able to choose that to end up winning it in the end. They knew they had to back off. As soon as the Dallas Fuel got any picks, they play a little bit tempered. They then stabilize, and then their supports can kind of set up and then win. That's basically how they ended up doing it. Twilight just survives for an exorbitant amount of time. FD God getting rallies on consistently, and then having really high value too. Sometimes you'll see Briggs use rally a little bit early and the enemy team just kind of disengages. They very much wait, I wouldn't say until the last second, but they end up being so effective because the Dallas Fuel have kind of all-in committed. That's when FD God uses those rallies. Plus, he's not playing too aggro either, so he's not getting taken out mid-rally, for example. The Fuel is an upward tilt battle now. 80% on the last point is the only thing Shock need. If they can get a good snowball here on first, and Choi building up a lot of that Graviton Surge charge, he is going to be in a good spot. Or, in fact, not him, just the entirety of the Shock are going to be in a very good spot here, Brett.
The Dallas Fuel, obviously still in a good situation. They're currently leading the series 1-0. It is the Shock's map pick. You can see the pressure coming in early, and a reminder what these teams are playing
Violet
for here.
Solo on the right-hand side.
Yeah, gets caught out of position there. What a big kill for them. Now, the Shock are on the attack, so they're just going to be trying to disengage from this without losing too many more players. Maybe they can punish somebody from the Fuel. Fielder gets caught out of position. Striker, where was that kill happening? This is causing havoc for them. Choi will fall as well. But ultimately, the Shock, you never know when a team fight might just be winnable for them, especially if they want to commit even further. Striker's still in position now as the team comes through. He's going to get that armor pack, healed back up. The point's going to start to get pressured a little bit here, and Fuel looking to set up. You can see Doha off on the flank here. Has to just jump away using his boosters.
Yeah, they can't lose anybody here, Brent. They really can't. Fielder's coming back, and he's back in the action now. Someone needs to touch on the Dallas Fuel. They send in Fearless. No nano boost available. Twilight's going to get his online so early, Brent. They might just use it to win the fight. Choi goes fairly low. The Dallas Fuel look like they have control at the moment, but Doha's getting just picked out of the sky. There's the nano boost.
Nano boost is going to be jumping straight onto the back line, and that should be enough to set them up as well. The Fuel, they had a pretty good read of it. They tried to just jump onto the back line of the Shock as the dive came through, kind of like trading the positions, but not enough ultimately. And I want to hit on this as well. This is what these teams are playing for, obviously, the opportunity to compete in the May Melee tournament. That's going to be occurring next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be later in the day. Look at this from Striker. Yeah, I mean, it's to be able to find a kill onto the Ana player of all, it's like, it's absurd. It's just absolutely absurd.
It's ridiculous. kind of curious where Jexo was in that fight. Obviously, you kind of want to be with your Ana, just to be able to protect her, and Striker wins the 1v1. Okay, all steam ahead now, Shocker going in.
Yeah, it's so important to win that Tracer 1v1. The positioning has just been opened up now for the Shock. They can just walk all the way into Deadeye.
They're going to get a free tick.
That's actually... Yeah, it's caught onto Doha, and look at Doha's just trying to make it work as well. He waits for it to fade. He's going to get stunned up. Eventually, he's going to be taken out of this duplicate, but he may have bought enough time here for them still. It's an even fight, but Shock do not have positioning across the point. It was actually Doha doing all the work, kind of pulling the Shock back and preventing them from moving further forward. So it has bought them at least a little bit of time, but look at the percentage that they managed to get there. At least one tick. It's going to make it so much easier now with 4 minutes in the time bank.
Yeah, and they have ground pulse. So they just need to push onto this high ground, find where Fielder is, find where Jexa is, and Jexa's rally is going to have to be the saving grace for the Dallas Fuel. Striker going for the 1v1 once more. He's going to take the Mega Health Pack away, but Harbin's going to use that grab. But they're going to trade grabs, in fact.
Okay, it works out better for the Fuel here. You can see the grabs onto the high ground, and Doha puts out so much damage. Striker wants to try and clutch this one out. The Pulse Bomb's committed. They do enough damage to take out Fielder. You can look at this Deadeye. Okay. He's trying to watch for the flank here. Does not want to get burst down by Doha. Doesn't want to get caught out. Smurf somehow gets that kill there, but the Pulse Bomb into the backline. Sparkle evening things up. Trying to secure it now for his team on the defense, and that is some wonderful work. Great counter engage again from the Dallas Fuel. These teams just trading blow after blow. You never know who's going to be winning these team fights.
That was super unfortunate. Choi ended up grabbing, and Striker was nowhere near to land in the pulse. Or maybe, well, he kind of was close by, but you'd have to lob it up into the air. And by the time he would have done that, the Zarya probably would have got Bubbles back off as well. Back off cooldown, that is. So the combo that they had in the back pocket, they just kind of threw away. They did end up counter-grabbing Hanbin, but Doha was right above them, Brett. So now they go into this next fight. Striker's going to have another pulse, but not really much else to work with. Doha can do what he did in the previous fight and just turn into Monkey, and then Fearless dives in with him as well. They have Nano Boost. They're looking good for the time being. I wonder how Shock are going to take this. Are they going to take it quickly? It looks like that.
Dive.
Oh, he's going to change it to Kree instead.
Yeah, Doha ends up assuming the form of the McCree there. And you can see as the dive attempt came from Smurf. Smurf is still in the backline, but he gets taken out, I believe, bionaded, and Sparkle chased him down. Though obviously in the duplicate form we'll be able to get out of there. But it's the trading of the main tanks to try and force the positioning off from them. Yeah. You notice it as well. Fearless just kind of like taking up a bunch of space, stopping the Shock from moving forwards. And now you're getting into a scary situation if you're a Shock fan. What was looking like such a good scenario previously, you now only have 2 minutes. And the Dallas Fuel have been rotating these ultimates so effectively that Fearless is closer to his Primal Rage now, and it's going to be the key to try and stop them.
Well, Sparkle's got a pulse bomb though. If he lands this onto FD God, he's going to be good. Or even Twilight for that matter. But Choi goes down already. It's these single pickoffs, Brent, that are winning them these fights. Oh, the whip shot! Oh no! Violet can get the headshot on the Tracer. He's going to be in big trouble now. They use the Primal Rage to disengage.
Trying to turn it. Yeah, and look at this. The ultimate's being used here. The rally, the nano, everything being utilized. Dallas just back off. They just back away from this. And now they're grabbing close quarters. The Bionade just to lead into this one. It's brutal. The Shock are just not finding any openings for it. Sleep dart off onto the high ground. Doha's going to be slept up. Taken out of the fight momentarily. Maybe turnable now with Twilight getting that kill. I believe they comboed it into the shield bash as well. Be bashing Fielder down to the low ground, but the rally armor still going to be doing a ton of work now to grab. Hanbin going to be nanoed up to try and keep him alive in this fight. Striker cannot follow up. It's chaos and pandemonium onto the point. But ultimately it leads into Dallas Fuel winning it out once again. And Shock, they do not want to give up these team fights.
Yeah, these... Oh my god, they're still going. Okay, well, you might as well, to be fair. You have spawn advantage, right? These grabs from Choi that with no follow-up from Striker's pulse are rather questionable, if I'm going to be honest, Brent. You need to grab that Zarya or, you know, the Winston if you know he doesn't have Primal Rage and then kill him from there. But, yeah, they're not comboing well. And then you saw it previously. They use Rally and Nano. But they use the Nano on the Brig. And then the Brig couldn't do anything. It was... Shock looking a little bit shaky right now. They got 25 seconds, Brent. They're going to be able to touch. And they need a tick and a little bit. But the Dallas Fuel, they're holding firm. They got copy. They're going to have grab. This could be all over here. Dallas Fuel could be 2-0 up after this.
Striker, he spotted his target. The post bomb is going to miss though. He needed that to connect. The initiation comes through. Violet going to be using that Deadeye. But look at the Bionade! What a dive attempt coming through. And oh, with the duplicate as well. He's found the 2K, but it's not over just yet. Violet finds somehow 2 picks out of it. It's not over, but the support line has been eviscerated from Shock. They do not have the heals necessary to try and win this one. Striker's got to keep this one going, but a sticky bombs lands, somehow finds the kill onto Fielder, but not before he's taken out. The Dallas Fuel, such a great finish here on Volskaya, and oh my goodness, leading the series 2-0. So unexpected. The 6th seed coming into this. Everyone anticipated that the Shock were going to come out swinging, but the Fuel, oh my word.
They refuse to die, Bren. The Dallas Fuel, an unbelievable showing against the Shock currently. They could just knock them out here. Next map could be theirs, and that is the first loss as well this year, this season for the Shock on Assault. And it was on the map choice of theirs. They rotated in Violet.
This is ridiculous.
They rotated Violet onto DPS. They put Twilight in on Ana. They're really nice full holds on Volskaya Industries that we saw the other day. They are not happening here. The Dallas Fuel seem to know exactly what to do. I'm lost for words, I'm going to be honest with you, mate. And I think the Desk are as well, considering they Predator Shock.
Nobody, and I tell you, nobody was expecting this outcome. There was upset potential here, for sure. For sure there was. But the Shock were looking like they were on a warpath. And it's just been obstacle after obstacle. It's a different year of the Overwatch League. The Shock are no longer the top dogs in NA. We're going to find out if they're going to be going home early here, or will Dallas Fuel be moving further forwards into the knockouts? Find out after the break. We are just potentially 1 map away from finding out.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game.
And here's our Indeed player resume for Hanbin, and I think he plays a role as well. I mean, he kind of gets overshadowed sometimes, I think, by some of the other players in the league, maybe some of his teammates, but consistent performance is what earns him a top spot. And look at these accomplishments across the board. This guy, he means business, and he has been showcasing it in this series so far.
#1 total eliminations in 2020 regular season. Absurd. Absurd numbers this guy's putting up, Brent. I mean, the Dallas Fuel right now getting a little bit of revenge, actually, on Shock. In 2020, the May Melee, they actually got knocked out by the Shock in a 3-1 series in the quarterfinals. And right now, they're about to knock Shock out for the May Melee. Like, they're going to knock them out before the Shock even get there.
Before they even get there.
Which is ridiculous. The Dallas Fuel right now are on another level. I mean, Fearless is popping off, Hanbin's popping off. Like, everybody on the Dallas Fuel right now is playing their A game. The San Francisco Shock have rotated people back in and moved players over to different roles, like we've seen previously. Violet's gone back to support, Nero's coming in for DPS. We're still seeing Super in and Choi, so no hint of Smurf for the next map. And it will be a hybrid as well, and it looks like we're going to Eichenwalde.
This is what the Shock wanted to play, obviously. It's still loser's pick, and it is kind of an absurd scenario that we're in, but this always happens in these tournaments, and we're not even in the actual tournament yet. That's next week, but this is the knockouts to even play to get into it. And it already, you end up with these scenarios, these weird scenarios. I mean, I think most people would have predicted, you know, Houston, Shock, Washington, those kind of teams to make it all the way through. But we could be seeing one of those teams upset very early on. One map is what stands between the Shock going home and the Dallas Fuel moving further forward.
I am grinning ear to ear right now, because I don't know if you saw the segment we did the other day, me and Vicky, with the desk. We did our questions or whatever it was with the caster leaderboard, and caster's first question to me was like, "Oh, you rated Dallas Fuel quite high. Is that because you're an Element Mystic simp, or are you just high on the Dallas Fuel? Do you think they'll do well?" And I peered into my Element Mystic branded bag, and I couldn't find an answer for him. But I would like to say, Scott, that look at me now, and look at the Dallas Fuel now. 2-0 against the Shock, heading into Eichenwalde, and they are looking clean.
I know Johnny's going to be punching the air as well, because he went so hard on how the Dallas Fuel could win this series, and didn't commit with the prediction. So I mean, I think it's a lot of the people predicting the Shock probably going to be punching the air if Dallas Fuel end up taking one more map. It's very close. And look at this here, the May Melee. As I've been saying, the actual tournament takes place next week on Thursday, May the 6th, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Later than usual, but it's going to be the East meeting the West. That's right, we've actually got the teams going to be playing. The NA teams from Hawaii, and the APAC teams obviously playing from their home location on some weird internet magic wizardry to get it working, but they will be playing internationally. It's going to be a lot of fun as the teams are already raring to go, and the Dallas Fuel on the attacking side of things, and they're playing Sparkle on the sim. TP right behind them, going to be breaking the ankles ever so slightly. And look at that, Striker goes down almost immediately. A lot less damage, a much better immortality field as well. They are just rolling over the Shock.
Oh boy, they're running out with the same thing they did at the very start of the day, or at the very start of the series even. They're having Sparkle on the sim. What does he do? He peeks around the corner. Where is their backline? Oh, me TP to backline, and me kill backline. That's basically what it was. I mean, you TP in, Fearless swings, Hump him puts up another shield, and Striker instantly goes down. He actually switches over to Doomfist for the Shock. I don't mind this whatsoever. I'm a big fan of Doomfist. But you can punish Sigma quite easily with Doom, and you can punish the immortality fields as well.
There you go.
Goodbye.
Yep, and now they're going to be trying to freeze down Striker. You see the walls being losing in close quarters. Oh my goodness, Fearless somehow finding the value there, but he will pay for it with his life. And the Shock with the quick adaptations should be able to hold the Dallas Fuel here at the choke point. What is that, Striker? Okay, forcing out the wall. He needs to be careful. 63 health. He is dancing with death right there, backing off, and it may have given the Dallas Fuel a bit of an opportunity to re-push this one now. The cooldowns aren't up for Striker.
Yeah, he's going to have to go for a little bit of a reset here. And when I say punish Hanbin, he can do that well because he can cancel the grasp. And the only thing that stands him away is the rock, of course, but that's going to be used to counteract Deeper. It's going to be used to counteract so many things. That is an almighty big flux, though. Nice sound barrier to follow up, Brent.
Yeah, the sound barrier comes through and it's simply connecting, but look at the ults being committed. Super will fall eventually, frozen up by the Blizzard, as Doha and Nero are going to be trading them both out. The Meteor Strike to try and turn it around. Self-destruct actually ends up taking out Hanbin as well. It was a better sound barrier though from the Dallas Fuel, and that's ultimately what's given them the edge in this fight. The Amp Matrix is going to be giving them all the damage they need on top of that one. They're going to be rolling this card over towards the bridge section now. A shock.
Nice little boop, actually, from Jexer to push Violet off of the high ground. He was kind of set up on his little perch, shooting people and healing everybody, and just booping him down. As a Batiste, though, you're normally holding the control to make sure you can send up yourself up the Exo boots. Super might be in trouble here, Brent.
Yeah, and that freeze just opens him up to be the Earth Shatter as well. Fearless sends it in, the Immortalities, it is chaos! Chaos in this tiny corridor. You can barely see what's going on. But all you need to do is read the kill feed, and there you go. You can see the Dallas Fuel are the ones who come out on top of that one.
There were 12 people in that room, Brent.
A very important team fight to win as well, Jack, if you consider the fact that so many teams get held up there. And they caught them in the forward spawns. Okay, the Shocker are going to try and turn this one around. Super, again getting pinned out. This has been ridiculous.
God, MTD, Mudge, like Super's not having a good time at all. Man, and look at the ult bank too, Brent, for the Fuel. They have everything up, pretty much. Jexay is not, well, he's about 30% away from the beat, but he should get on that line very soon. They've walled Fearless off again. He's in trouble, Brent.
He is in trouble. Fearless caught against the wall here. Has the Earth Shatter. The Blizzard comes up, though. It's connected onto so many of them. If Super goes down, it's going to open things up again. And they've only got a couple of players left remaining. And this is where the snowball really begins to shine. I cannot believe what we're witnessing here. The Dallas Fuel just not letting off in the slightest. And the Shock, they've got ultimates. Let's take a listen in at the Dallas Fuel's comms here in the final moments.
이제 파란차이 보여줘야 돼? 그럼 2초 늘어났네?
쇼크 상대로 4분? 오우 쉣!
오 쉣! 이게 델러스냐? 얘들아
Danny, can you fill us in?
I know what one of those words was.
All right, yes. The first word I heard, I don't think I could say it on broadcast. Okay, overall vibe, as you guys could tell, they were very excited. Someone mentioned about not putting in the right skill. Sorry, I sort of missed that. After that, they were actually really excited that they have 4 minutes and 2 seconds against the San Francisco Shock. And one of the players was like, hey guys, focus. You know, you guys are excited. Let's just calm down. And that's the last thing I heard. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Danny.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's
I was going to say, I know a couple of those words.
If you can't repeat them on broadcast.
Yeah, you can't repeat them on broadcast, but you'll definitely hear them in ranked if you play against some of the Korean players that are here in North America. That was incredible. They're obviously very happy, Brent, with that time bank. And look at this snowball. You pointed out the fact that a lot of teams actually do get held here, but Dallas Fuel, they just walked straight up to the Shock. They knew that was the case, so if they take the fight early, the Shock have to go for a complete regroup. What a shatter from Fearless there. And just completely domed Super, and they were able to kind of roll on forwards. Different look here from the Fuel, though.
Yeah, this is so interesting because the Dallas Fuel are just showing so many different looks. You'd expect them to be running similar compositions, but they're giving the Shock whiplash in terms of forcing them to adapt all the time. The Shock are quick though. They don't want to waste any time whatsoever. They know they have to go fast if they want to try and match this time bank. Going to be taking an early fight. Super doesn't have the Bionade applied to him, but eventually he's going to be fading off. And Spark was just looking for a lot of that early chunk down damage. The damage boosted rockets can do a lot of work if he can connect just one of them. You can see the peel attempt coming through from Choi as he tries to push Sparkle away. The Shock seem to be having a good attempt of this though. Nero building up a lot of his ult charge early on by setting up the rest of these kills with their team. And it is almost like a slow bleed now of the Fuel, unable to really hold up onto this one. The hack onto Choi is going to open things up for them. But
Jexa has been
a little
caught.
bit of trouble. Yeah, and Jexa will get taken down. The Shock answering back very quickly.
Yeah, they should be able to cap this point, no problem. And the 4:02, by the way, was the 4th fastest time to complete Eichenwalde. That's how quick it was. A ridiculous record-breaking, not record-breaking, but on the leaderboards at least. 4th fastest. Shock. Maybe they can do it, just maybe. It's a very, very good start. The Dallas Fuel swapping up their comp just a little bit again. They're switching over to the Brig and the Tracer now. But Doha's already got this EMP. He can just jump down, hit the EMP on the tanks, and they should be good to go. But Nero's going to be waiting in the wings with one of his own.
Big EMP is going to be catching onto a lot of them. Violet didn't get caught though. The Coalescence comes through to try and heal them back up. Hack onto Fearless as well. And now the Sound Barrier comes back in, and look at that. So much damage being done off the back of this one. Quick switches, the adaptations, the Shock really prevailing here. Still, Violet will fall. It's not a clean end to the fight, but ultimately they do win it out. And the Shock can look to take this further forward. And the last time we saw the Dallas Fuel in this position, when they were pushing the card up towards the bridge, they were very quick in terms of taking positioning. They wanted to fight them before Dallas, or before the Shock could end up breaking out. See how it changes up though. They've ended up just pushing straight past the choke point here, Jack.
Yeah, they have indeed. Fearless as the Primal Rage. I'm pretty scared, Bren. The bridge is pretty treacherous. Sparkle with the pulse, though.
Okay, against the wall, and that's all you need. Doesn't necessarily need to find a target, but when it's close quarters like that, you can win it out still. This is a good fight to be taking as long as Violet stays alive. And Fearless going down means that all that damage done just converted into ult charge. The Coalescence getting built up now, but the EMP, might just shut it all down. Doha catches it onto so many members of the opposition, but again, taking the fight indoors, very risky. Still, the Dallas Fuel more than capable of closing it out. They're going to be coming out on top in that team fight. 3.5 minutes now, Jack. A lot of ultimates for the Shock to try and take this, but they've been held at this dreaded bridge area.
Doha was always praised as this extremely good Sombra back when Goats was a thing, and they were playing Sombra Goats. Doha was building these up like it was nothing else, and that EMP shows he knows the positioning. They're all trapped in a room though, of course, so it was pretty easy to hit a big one. Nero's got one of his own online though. He used it, only catches Fearless, Brent, and they're doing a good job of defending him.
Yeah, Fearless being beautiful so well, but a Shock, they're doubling down. You're going to see the Sound Barrier being used here. Translocator, okay, Violet's going to be beaming it down. He actually noticed where it was. Self-destruct coming over, Fade indoors, not going to be getting caught out. In fact, Fielder is the one who's gone down. FT got putting in a lot of that damage, but look at the Primal Rage. That's exactly what Fearless wants. It's going to be mashing him against the walls. And as well, look at that, going to get the D-Mech onto Troy and forcing him to either reset off the edge or just change up his role, just being pressured out. This is beautiful work from the Dallas Fuel.
Oh boy, that Fade being used really early by Violet to, like you said, get indoors away from that self-destruct, just met his doom, really. And then FD God 2 was hacked by Doha. He couldn't boop anybody off. He was kind of just sat on the floor, basically, not doing all too much, and ended up going down as well. Fuel have EMP again, Bren. They're going to be able to hold this bridge pretty easily. They could make this last fight. They got interrupted, though.
That is brilliant from FD God. He cancels the EMP, but will it be enough? The Dallas Fuel still want to keep taking this fight further forward. And Fielder still alive is putting in the damage. I believe it was a Bionade to assist with a lot of the work being done here. Ultimate's being committed, another one onto Super. He can't be healed up. The self-destruct comes through. Doesn't connect onto any targets. And it's such unorthodox positions to be taking these team fights. And right now, no ground being gained by the San Francisco Shock still. They want to recontest this now. They reset a little bit, and now they're taking the team fight as they steadily push the cart further forwards. But the Dallas Fuel have not been denied off this high ground yet, and now the Nana Boost coming onto Fearless means that they can be set up for all sorts of business. Okay, the post one comes through, and Jexa just didn't have the shield necessary to block it. Striker with another one, possibly going to get a third. The heal's coming through. Striker, are you kidding me? Trying to clutch this up for them, but the heals are still there, Jack. They haven't got rid of Fielder.
Sparkle ends up going down. Dallas Fuel are going to be able to recontest. They got Primal Rage coming up soon, as well as that self-destruct, but this looks like it could be the last fight if they manage to draw this one out. Hanbin has been purpled, so he now has to back off. Shock going to be able to get some nice positions here, but they're going to go for the engage.
Good engage comes through, but a counter engage immediately. Look at that Primal Rage. Fearless could be massive with it, and he's caught Violet off the edge, while the Sleep Dart comes onto Super. Not the same value. Fearless takes care of the backline. He might just be trying to take care of a third. He's going to return with the rest of his team, and the Dallas Fuel have brought them down to the final 30 seconds left. The Shock realize we need to reset. This is it. Final fight territory, and the series is on the line.
Doha wanted revenge from the May Melee in 2020 when the Shock knocked them out in the quarterfinals, and they're going to knock the San Francisco Shock out before they even get there. This could be it, Brent. Final fight. Doha once again with the EMP, and Fielder's got that nano for Fearless.
To be able to contest the cart. Nero going to get the uncloak going, tries to get the hack off, but look at the peel attempt. Sparkle recognized it still. Striker is alive, and the Pulse Bomb, the hopes and dreams, no one's on the cart! They didn't touch the cart! The Dallas Fuel, and I believe it was a hack onto Super that prevented him from touching the cart. The one thing that disrupted it. GG's in the chat, the Dallas Fuel have done it. They've swept the San Francisco Shock, and they will not be moving further forward into the knockouts. Instead, it is the Dallas Fuel who will be playing against the Houston Outlaws, a return of the battle for Texas.
Oh my goodness. You couldn't see it at the very end there, but the play of the game was Fearless. He used the Primal Rage, knocking both supports off the edge of the map on the last fight. And you mentioned it too, the hack onto Super as he's using Primal to try and get back to the cart to get the touch. What an unbelievable showing from the Dallas Fuel. They came into this season, Brent, with one thing in mind, and that was to win. They built the team out of players that have previously played together before on teams like Element Mystic, and they've done an absolute spectacular job of doing so. The Shock go down in a 3-0 fashion. They are not used to being in this kind of position. I don't know what to say. I am speechless right now. This is ridiculous. The Dallas Fuel, if they don't go after people's power rankings right now, Brent, I'm going to be mad.
You're going to be having some words, aren't you, Jack? I mean,
I'll have words with quite a few people. Yeah.
That is something special that we have witnessed here. I mean, so many people expected the Shock to be coming out of this, you know, with the advantage in some of the ways. You got to give credit to the Dallas Fuel here. Not only have they just played sublime Overwatch, they've done it while essentially being locked out of the meta compositions. They've been adding their own twist to it. Absolutely ridiculous. And now let's take a look at our player of the match presented by Xfinity. Well, it's got to go to one individual, and I think it was a good choice in this matter. It's going to Fearless. This guy, across the board, has just been dominating in the main tank role. His Winston, unbelievable. His Reinhardt as well, setting up the team for success time and time and time again. And I mean, you called it earlier, Jack. You were saying how this redemption arc, this Cinderella story of Fearless, it just continues, doesn't it?
Yeah, he is the Cinderella of the Overwatch League. 0-40 on the Shanghai Dragons all the way back in the inaugural season. He comes back and he does a performance like this. His year-on-year improvement is absurd. This was the player I was talking about. This was actually player of the game in the match as well, in that map as well. He booped both supports off the edge in the final fight. The guy set a record for Primal Rage kills on Gibraltar the other day. There is nothing stopping Fearless right now. He is one of the best tanks, if not one. I'm not going to call him the best tank just yet, but he is looking like it right now. It's going to be an interesting comparison when we look at the East to West teams and how they're going to face up against each other. But for now, the Dallas Fuel, they can come away happy, man. They must be on top of the world. They beat the San Francisco Shock 3-0. And while the series did look a little bit competitive, it always just ended up with the Fuel coming out on top. Doha as well, by the way, a big shout out to him on Icon Valda. His EMPs, the generation, the ult generation was absurd. He had them every single fight, and they always were impactful. Apart from that one that got interrupted with the shield bash, but it didn't matter because they even won that fight anyway.
This has just set us up for potentially one of the best outcomes I think we could have hoped for coming into the knockouts, which are still going to be played. Even more matches after these two, and they just set it up perfectly. I mean, these matches are going to be insane, and it decides who ends up playing in the May Melee that's going to be taking place next week. I absolutely cannot wait, Jack. It is going to be phenomenal. I mean, what an absolute blessing that we have received to see an Overwatch like this. Just again exceeding all expectations. Can't hammer it home enough. But anyway, that's enough from us. And you're going to be seeing on the other side of the break a nice interview, I believe, with Doha as well, as the Watchpoint desk also set up the rest of the day, as when we get to see a lot of these matches are going to be played further forward. So thank you very much for watching us, but the show is not over just yet. I don't want to bait you into turning off the screen. You can still keep watching.
Don't go anywhere.
Still keep watching. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to our game break presented by Cheesy Groups. Zoe here, joined by Danny, Costa, and Reinforce. And wow, I'm emotionally invested right now. I mean, we were all absolutely dead wrong with our predictions, and I love it.
Yep.
I love being wrong.
okay with
I
it.
love when a team comes out swinging like that and absolutely ruins it for everyone, especially the Shock. Yeah, upset potential. That was the name of the game, and that is exactly what happened. But 3-0. Like, even for an upset, like 3-0, like that's not to be expected.
Shock were
Yeah.
boomed on that Icon Valde, and I think, you know, that really sums up the rest of the game for the Shock right now. Like, they just don't look like they have an identity. I'd love to hear what Costa has to say as well, but it just looks like, you know, they're in a phase currently where they need to come up with an identity, integrate some of these newer players to the roster, and just haven't found their comfort zone right now.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. The Dallas Fuel have got this identity, and you could see the Shock trying to scramble to solve the problem. And I think Volskaya is the biggest identifier when the Shock just started throwing out ultimates. They just started trying to win the game on their own, and that is not the Shock that we know. They work together, they execute perfectly, and that wasn't the Shock that we saw today. They weren't playing like themselves, and that is all credit to the Dallas Fuel for throwing something at them and they just couldn't dodge it. So big props. All of their players stepped up, but as everyone knows, Fearless is a monster. Jaws wasn't willing to say it. Fearless is the best main tank in the league right now, in the world, and I have no doubt about that right now.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I mean-
and you know who was really good? Doha.
Yes.
Was really good.
Transition time. Does that
Right?
mean the interview is ready?
It is ready,
Danny,
everybody.
take it
Let's
away.
head on over to the interview. Guys, let's go. Danny, are you ready? Yes, I am ready. Hi, guys, I'm Danny. Welcome to Game Break presented by Cheese It Grooves, everybody. We're joined here by Doha from Dallas Fuel. 도하 선수 안녕하세요.
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 여기
All right,
봐요.
so my first question is, yeah, you could just stare right front. 앞으로 그냥 보시면 됩니다. 딴 데 안
네.
보시고 앞을 보시고 인터뷰 해주시면 됩니다. So, San Francisco Shock had some difficult series coming into the knockout rounds. Were there any weaknesses that you spotted from the Shock's matches that you guys sort of used for your victory today? 오늘 이제 센쇼기 지금까지 어떻게 보시면 경기들이 그렇게 다 막 쉽지는 않았잖아요.
네.
좀 어려움을 겪고 여기까지 고전을 해서 올라왔는데 도하 선수가 보셨던 어떻게 보면 좀 쇼크의 약점 이런 게 좀 있었나요? 경기에 들어오시면서?
작년보다는 그렇게 막 빠른 템포를 사용하는 것 같지 않아서 그 점이 좀 작년보다는 좀 아쉬워졌다고 생각하고 쇼크가 근데 약하기보다는 저희가 좀 처음에는 좀 합도 안 맞고 못했는데 점점 잘해지고 있는 것 같아요.
Right, so compared to last year, I personally believe that, you know, they used to be really good at fast tempo, attacking fast in a fast-paced way. And for our match today, they didn't have that tempo with them. And also, you know, I don't want to say that San Francisco Shock is weak. I think it's just that our coordination was a lot better and we were playing a lot better than the Shock. That is how we clutched the win today against the San Francisco Shock. And my second question is a little bit of a fun one. I think Custa also mentioned that, you know, the deciding factor for this whole series was Volskaya map. And we saw you sort of course, I think it was you copied Winston at the end as Echo and you sort of clutched that round. But we also saw you, I don't want to say miss, but let's just say you were having fun by copying McCree on that map as well. So, what is the least favorite hero to copy as an Echo player? 자, 일단 두 번째 질문 좀 더 재미난 건데 쉽게 말하면 이제 그 볼스카야 맵에서 당연히 끝에 가서 윈스턴을 좀 이렇게 그 카피를 복사를 하셔가지고 좀 이제 끝에 이기시기는 했는데 중간에 저희가 또 보기도 했거든요. 그 맥크리를 이렇게 복사를 해서 이게 좀 이렇게 잘 못 맞추는 어떻게 보면 좀 이렇게 재미를 보시는 걸 보게 되는데 그냥 재밌는 질문이에요. 도하 선수가 보시기에 좀 이렇게 에코를 영웅을 좀 이렇게 사용하면서 어떤 영웅을 하는 게 좀 이렇게 제일 좀 까다롭나요?
어려운 걸 말씀하시는 건가요? 제가 사용하기?
네네 어려운 거요. 사용하기 그러니까 딱 이렇게 복사를 궁을 써서 복사를 했을 때 쓰기 어려운.
아무래도 이제 맥클이나 이 애쉬 같은 친구들이 좀 에임이 엄청 좋은 사람들이 많이 쓰다 보니까 그게 좀 어려운데 그 약간 맥크리 카피는 원해서 했다기보다는 약간 죽으면 약간 큰일 날 것 같아서 한 거라 노리진 않았어요 맥크리는.
노리진 않았어요? 알겠습니다.
보이길래 했습니다.
So I mean I think the most difficult. Okay, all right. So I think the most difficult hero to play as an Echo player when you use her ult and to copy someone is probably like those hit scan players, McCree and Ash, those players that you really need the really good aim for. But in my defense, at that moment when I copied McCree, just to let you guys know, I copied because I felt like if I died on that spot, on that team fight, it would have been a casualty. So it wasn't by choice. I just sort of had to see, I just sort of had to copy someone that was in front of me, and that's how I had to go with McCree. All right, one last question. You guys are moving up and you guys will be fighting against Houston Outlaws, Battle for Texas, sorry guys. It's going to be round 2. What is your plan going into your match today? 이제 다음 경기인 휴스턴과의 경기, 저번에 이제 시즌 전에도 시즌 시작할 때 한번 했다가 이번에 다시 또 휴스턴과 만나게 되는데 좀 어떤 계획이 있나요?
딱히 계획은 없고 그때는 저희가 좀 많이 아쉬운 부분도 많고 못했는데 오늘은 좀 그 점 보완해서 이기는 거를 목표로 해야 될 것 같아요.
Alright, so I don't really have a specific plan for the team right now, but I feel like you know, we sort of have made a lot of mistakes when we first played Houston beginning of the season, and I feel like we could correct that in our matchup today, and we're just going to focus on winning. Alright, 도하, thank you so much for the interview. 도하 선수 너무 감사드립니다.
감사합니다.
All right, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Doa. Congratulations to the Dallas Fuel. And we are now taking a quick look at our Western Region knockout bracket. That's a mouthful. We are now in the next round and we are lining up that battle for Texas. But first, we're going to talk about the Florida Mayhem and the Justice, which are our next match coming up. However, you know, for this one, yeah, it's an upset, but the writings were on the wall. It wasn't as unexpected. Some might say that there were people on this very desk who may or may not have seen it coming. Let's roll it back, just because we can.
If I am the Dallas Fuel going up against the San Francisco Shock today, I think that Fearless could really find an edge against the Shock. And that is what Dallas Fuel needs if they want to win this matchup.
All right, Reinforce almost selling me here on the Dallas Fuel. So it is time to take a look at our picks for this match. And I almost want to flop, but I personally am not quite there. Reinforced, who did you pick for that first one?
I actually have to go with the San Francisco Shock here. I know I hyped up the Dallas Fuel, and I really do believe that there is proper upset potential here. I really do believe that there is a really good chance that Dallas Fuel will win this one. San Francisco Shock, they looked shaky yesterday against the Atlanta Reign, and Dallas Fuel, they've only lost again to Washington Justice and Houston Outlaws, two of our best teams in the league. So I don't underrate the Dallas Fuel, but San Francisco Shock, championships 2 years in a row. This is a fantastic team. I believe they can fight back and get the win today. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the San Francisco Shock really need to be concerned with this one because in my mind, the San Francisco Shock, we always talk about them early on in the season. They're a bit shaky, they're figuring things out. Last year, they lost to both LA teams early on in the season, and now as well, they have been struggling a little bit, especially with the player rotations. We haven't seen that much of Glister. Violet has been put on the DPS role at times. And really, I think that this is, you know, a bit of a concerning sign that not everything is peace and quiet and just joyous in the San Francisco Shock camp. And that is not what you want to go into this matchup with, especially against the Dallas Fuel, who have great fundamentals, great engagements, great ability and the ultimate usage. This is a really skilled Dallas Fuel team. And meanwhile, the San Francisco Shock, they're struggling to find their identity. FD got his adjustments, etc. So this is a pretty concerning head-to-head matchup, I would say, where Dallas Fuel could really upset this one. So San Francisco Shock need to be on top of their A game today if they want to walk away with a win.
I still end.
Who did this?
Yeah,
Who did this
you
to
did
me?
that. You did this to yourself. Reinforce.
I warn you, don't mess with me. It won't go nicely for you. Unbelievable. Yeah. Who put that up there?
You don't want 420p Reinforce coming at you. Like those pixels are coming in with an edge, I tell you that. Well, you should have trusted yourself. Alas, you did not. And you also went with a shock, you know, because you're a sheep, like all of us.
No regrets.
And that is okay. No regrets. That's where we're at. No, but let's talk about that game. Because that is true. It's okay if everyone is a sheep. I do want to have a few insights, though, as to what exactly went wrong. Because on Volskaya, you know, like, the Shock looked like the Shock for a period of time. They did hold their opposition to that first point. They were able to do their, you know, that beautiful dance they always do, where they go in, they disengage, they re-engage, and that looked like Shock. And then it all crumbled. What happened?
They've heard enough of me. You go.
I think that you have to credit the Dallas Fuel coaching staff for coming in with such a smart strategy. We saw on Volskaya, they came out with, instead of taking this Tracer duel that we talked so much about against Striker, they came out and Sparkle played the Reaper, and they played the Moira, and they sort of changed the tempo up on the way that Shock wanted to play the game. And then we go to Eichenwalder, and they come out with the Symmetra, and all of a sudden Striker can't play his hero anymore, he has to go to the Doomfist. They forced Shock onto uncomfortable heroes, and we even saw Violet have to play Echo here on the Volskaya as well. They forced the San Francisco Shock onto uncomfortable heroes while they played things that they were comfortable with, and they just looked so much more comfortable in the match. And Doha even said it, they were the much better team today, and you need to give Dallas Fuel that credit. I want to see how far these guys can go. I don't know if I should just blind pick Dallas Fuel for the rest of this tournament.
I'm going to keep it short because we've already gone on for quite a bit. I tell you, if you want to hear more analysis, tune into the post show because me and Costa, we're going to have a blast with this one. But I'll just say that I think it was really interesting how Doa pointed out in the post-game interview that Shock used to be really good at playing fast and playing high tempo. And that's what viewers, I don't think, quite understand when they watch the game because you can't really see it yourself. But the pace at which these pro players play at, it's ridiculous. Like, they come at you, the effectiveness, the uptime is so high in the Overwatch League that there's always this high tempo. And Shock just couldn't keep up. Like Costa said on Volskaya, they're just throwing ultimates out. Like they weren't prepared to play this high tempo. And it reminded me of the Gladiators a little bit, who wants to play this high level, high tempo playstyle, but just aren't able to do that. And we saw multiple members of the Shock crumble. FD he couldn't keep up with the pace. Violet, why is Violet playing DPS? I think it's because some of the new additions, they just aren't able to play this very fast style. And instead of trying to force it with putting Violet on DPS, I think they need to start with the fundamentals, you know, get everyone on the same page, and then you can build tempo and playing fast on top of the good fundamentals. I think Shock, you know, they need to spend this time rethinking their fundamentals and just get back to basics, because they have the individual skill and they can get back to being an elite team. They just didn't show it today.
Yeah, well, they definitely have some time now to rewatch that tape and see where it all went wrong. However, they did make it into those knockout rounds, so that is a great feat in on itself, because not all the teams managed to get that far. Now, it is time for Crunch Time, presented by Cheesy Grooves, and you know, Florida, they looked great, very crunchy in their first match today. They did roll their opposition 3-0, and they did come in with confidence in the post-game interview. Yaki saying that it's going to be an easy game against the #1 seed, the Washington Justice, which are considered the favorite going into this. But after this first match now, or after this last match now, what does that even mean anymore? Like, does it mean anything anymore? Can we just flip the tables?
We're just
Nothing
chaos
matters.
No, nothing matters.
It'll be interesting. I really like the way that the Florida Mayhem played this game. I'm curious to see how the Justice are going to come up with an answer for how Florida just played, because it was so strong across the board for every single one of those players. How do you come up with an answer across so many different compositions? So,
well, we tried to come up with an answer in our predictions, so let's see where we're leaning here on the desk, or maybe, for once we don't all agree. So I personally, of course, went with the Washington Justice, because I couldn't go against my own pickings, but Florida Mayhem looked really good today. Danny, did they win you over?
I had Washington Justice for the longest time, up until I had to interview Yaki, and then everything changed. I went with Florida Mayhem. I mean, after talking with that dude, you know, you just got that energy just rubbed off. I got with Florida Mayhem.
This is usually where I'd freak out at Danny, but I actually agree with him. I think I would have said Washington Justice. I would have said I had it on my pick'ems, but I absolutely botched it and forgot to submit them. So I'm just gonna full send. I'm just going for the Florida Mayhem. I honestly think they look so good, and we've seen weaknesses from the Justice. I think they can pull it off.
Those weaknesses, though, are primarily on Reinhardt composition, so I'm going with the Washington Justice today. I think Mag's a fantastic Winston. You got the Decay and Assassin. That's all you need. Wrap it up. Washington Justice will win this one.
Wrap it up. Well, speaking of wrapping it up, that is it for our game break presented by Cheesy Grooves. We're now heading over to our casters for this very match, Uber and Mr. X. I mean, so far we have brilliant games. Are you excited for this one? Where's the potential here? More upsets? Or just business as usual for the Justice?
It doesn't matter when it is. It's the Mayhem are always the dark horse, this upstart team that threatens to upset, right? It's like we always expect that. The fact that, oh, y'all have, you know, like two of you are predicting them with a chance to win says a lot. Matt, considering how good the Justice have looked so far in general.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with something that Yaki said in his interview. Like, the Justice haven't played the strongest of opponents yet. This is going to be their best test thus far. And they're going up against a team that looked really strong this morning. You know, the Justice, they played Toronto during the stage. They 3-0'd them in the same type of fashion. So you think these teams potentially could be on a little bit more even footing than the records and kind of where they stand in overall May Melee, I could say.
I love what Johnny pointed out about the Reinhardt comps being like where the weaknesses might have been displayed. And we probably, like Custer, I don't think we expect to see much of that, do we?
No, and that's the thing. Both of them succeed in these Winston comps. So it'll be interesting to see if either of them force that Reinhardt and try and be like, hey, we're the best of the worst at the Brawl comps, but we'll say, all right, boys, join me. Come to the Mayhem. Come to the dark side.
Humanity, return to Monkey, baby. I want the chaos.
Bring the Mayhem, baby.
I really think it is. You know, I think the Mayhem are going to put a ton of pressure on these Washington supports throughout the series, and we'll see how it holds up.
All right, back in your box, nerds. We'll catch up with you guys after this one. I'm sure there'll be many takes to walk back, because half of you obviously
they're already in there, but they were already in their box. That's just
now
so mean the way you just sent them off.
The box has been put inside another box, just like we were in the Blizzard Arena. We were like in a box.
I was in a box, standing on a box. Think about that.
Sometimes more than one box, Matt. I won't lie to you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, what a great match that we get to see here, because, like it's been mentioned, the Washington Justice, I mean, it's been shown that they can bleed somewhat. They look very, very solid, but their opponents, the Florida Mayhem, looked pretty average against a San Francisco Shock team who's already been doomed straight out of the May Melee Qualifiers match. So this is probably the toughest one to call, maybe one of the tougher matches we've had so far to call.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're really going to find out in this series how strong the Justice are. I believe they're a very strong team. I also think that the Mayhem rank pretty high up there. But we now get to see this Justice team go up against one of the other top teams, here in the Western region. I think what Johnny said, though, is a pretty good point, where both of these teams don't really want to play like those Reinhardt-based competitions, so we won't really see them get tested on that. We can take a look at the Florida Mayhem starters. Nothing surprising here. So the consistent 6 that we always see. I think Slime and Gangnam Jin are primed for a big series. With how aggressive the Justice play, it's going to put a lot of pressure on those two, but Slime and Gangnam Jin is so proven throughout the Overwatch League.
And here, look below them as well, your power rankings with IBM Watson. I mean, Gangnam Jin right up there, right? I think he was 4th last week, maybe. I mean, he's sitting in that top 5. And OG's also been looking really good. What I find so interesting is that OG is the part of this team that people sometimes press on and say, well, this could be a weakness. This could be an instability here, but he's ranked 8th, and he looks really good on a composition this team loves to play, which involves that wrecking ball.
I think the question with OG has never been a question of talent, right? It's just been, can you get him to play coordinated with the rest of the team? And with the Florida Mayhem thus far, you've seen them channel that.
BQB looks incredibly survivable right now as well, so we'll have to see if Decay can pressure him out properly. Here, of course, is your Washington Justice. It will be Decay and Assassin starting at DPS. And, of course, Mag already, getting hyped up by a lot of people. Basically gets, player of the match in a lot of the series that he ends up in. He's ranked 7th, so he's just pipped OG at the post in terms of tank performances here. But the rest of this team is star-studded. Bebe's looked incredible. I feel like he was kind of stuck in the corner at times on the Hangzhou team there. We didn't get to see maybe quite as much of him if he slept at normal hours last year, but he looks right at home on this roster, and he and Closer are developing this synergy out of seemingly nowhere.
Yeah, a lot of people in the scene were pretty high on Bebe and Closer coming in. If you're just like a casual Overwatch League viewer and you've watched them play over the years, you wouldn't really feel that way from what we've seen with them on other teams. But obviously the coaches, the GMs, the players, the people who try these players out know the best. So Oasis will be the first map in this series. I'm really excited for the Yaki versus Decay Tracer matchup.
Absolutely. I think, we do see a little bit of the Tracer matchup that sort of happens on some maps. We saw it a ton, I think, yesterday on Dorado, for example. That was in the Paris Eternal matchup. However, if these two teams try and play Ashe compositions, then you actually get an Ashe versus Tracer matchup more often than just the Tracer v Tracer, right? And that's what we sort of said, that BKB was so good at just staving off Tracers, right? He had like lowest deaths per 10 minutes on Ashe, I think, in a meta, in a season where it was a lot of the time like Tracers trying to dive on Ashes and then having to coach kind of way, or sometimes just shoot them at point blank. Only one of these teams, Matt, is going to the May Melee right now. And the Washington Justice have paved the way well, but the Mayhem are always a wild card. They are always a chaotic factor, and they're always ready to rumble. We're going to kick off here on Oasis.
These teams, when you look across the rosters, so evenly matched. Gargoyle, don't talk a lot about him, but a fantastic off-tank player for the Florida Mayhem. And I really think this series may come down to, Yaki versus Decay and what happens with the Justice supports.
Again, you sort of said Slime and Gangnam Jin are positioned to have a huge match, so keep an eye on that one, ladies and gentlemen, as these teams come out the gates with somewhat similar compositions. It will be Assassin on the Sombra, though. An interesting look, of course. Jerry not in the lineup here for the Justice, so maybe not expected to see Hitscan presence here. And early on, it's the Justice that take the high ground perch.
Yeah, and this is a composition that a lot of people have been talking about, but more with like the Moira and the Lucio in the mix, like a really aggressive style of play, but it's going to put a ton of pressure on BQB. Like you mentioned, great at dealing with the Tracer. Now he's going to have the Tracer in the Sombra around him.
Eventually, the Justice need to do something about this. Right now, Yaki is just keeping Decay at arm's length for the time being. But BQB's gone down. Looks like he might have tried to challenge the high ground to some degree, but look at all the Justice. They must have just plunged down on top of the McCree and dealt with him. Still, they're not out of the woods yet, though. No one's captured the point quite yet, and OG has to jump away. That means Gargoyle is left on his own. OG just hung him out to dry. He had to get away, and as soon as he returns, he's hit with a fat biotic grenade.
At the start, it didn't look like it was going to go great for the Justice. You know, Mag was taking some shots up on the high ground, but as soon as they got aggressive with the dive, just picked apart the Florida Mayhem. And the Justice getting control of the point first here is huge. It's so difficult to flip this point back.
You're watching OG pull the plug there. I mean, maybe he had to do that. He was low on health, but that's just a sign of the pressure that the Justice are putting on the individual targets here. I mean, as soon as OG peeked out, Gargoyle was like, well, I don't have a personal bubble left, and I will now succumb to all this damage. So the Washington Justice, they build a nano boost, as do the Mayhem, so expect to see some electrified Winstons in this next fight. The rally for closer may be a factor if we get a fight fairly soon, but the Justice don't want to fight all that quickly if they can help it. They'll chill up here on the high ground. It's a Deadeye from BQB. His angle's not great from that low ground, and there it is. Mag goes in with the nano boost. I don't know how he's going to deal with BQB. He gets nanoed as well. Decay just got his headshot off, but Mag somehow finds two with the landing. The Primal Rage comes out right after it, but the jump pack damage was already done. And again, this guy is living up to his name. Talk about Mag Lev. He barely touched the ground.
Well, for a second, I thought they were going to actually nano OG and send him to the high ground, and then maybe, you know, have like the Deadeye. You could use the Primal, knock some players down, maybe into the line of sight. But they decide to actually nano BQB after the dive comes in, because you had Mag there, Decay. He's able to deal with one. He gets the headshot on the Decay, but a really nice grab there from Fury. The Primal Rage from Mag is beautiful. The Justice are rolling here early.
A jump pack damage when you land is non-negligible, especially when you're nano boosted. So Mag, pleased with that one, but there's no nano or primal for this fight, so focus shifts away from the Winston's presence, and now that EMP connects well, Gargoyle in trouble! He goes down. Both Slime and Gangnam Jimmy hit with that as well, so no chance for a biotic grenade or any sort of burst healing whatsoever. And OG, he's completely out of position. You kind of hinted this earlier, Matt. How do they get OG in step with the rest of the team? It looks like there's a little bit of discombobulation here for the Florida Mayhem. Mag eventually goes down, and Yaki, a speculative pulse bomb that he almost lands on himself. He tried to hatch his own egg by the looks of things. And the Washington Justice look to take this first round awfully comfortably. There'll be some stall attempts here as Fury does get woken up with very small amount of damage because Gargoyle wasn't charged up at all. And Decay will now harass. Gangnam has no time to worry about the rest of his team. It's Decay that's bearing down upon him, and he just appears in his field of view like a bolt out the blue. And that'll be the job done now. With a Graviton Surge and no one to follow it up here, Slime tries to move forward. He's hit with a body grenade, stunned, whip shot immediately. Yaki tries to come up, but no. Try as they might, the Mayhem cannot hold the Justice back.
As that is, like you mentioned, you know, maybe trying to get OG on the same page for the rest of the team, that's not even the situation here. I mean, that was just a dominant performance from the Justice. It's a big EMP from Assassin, connects with Slime, so you didn't have an opportunity to engage with the rally there at the end, which probably would have been your best chance. So we'll see what the Florida Mayhem decide to go with here. This would be interesting if they come out with that Reinhardt-based composition, like the desk was talking about. Neither of these teams really love to play the Reinhardt-based compositions.
So why play it here?
Zarya. Maybe they feel like they can force an advantage here. If they can't win in the double bubble matchup, maybe they feel this is a little bit better against the Sombra. They can kind of run down the Zarya and the supports.
Opting out of the double bubble early is the Florida Mayhem. Looking anywhere they can to find an advantage, and they look to the composition in this second round to find it. High ground will be taken here. Obviously, it's nice to have Lucio. Sometimes you feel extremely glacial trying to get out of spawn without him. OG, look at the backline, but he's really just creating a bit of space here, getting in between the supports and the front line, and that seems to have worked. The May wall does the trick, and Fury is isolated from the rest of his team. OG will also force Mag away. The one kill will be enough, though.
What I will find very interesting is, you know, do we see the Justice switch and try and mirror? We haven't really seen them do that a ton throughout the stage, which, you know, they haven't really
No one's been able to force it, right?
Right, nobody's been able to force it. BQB is so good, whether it's on Ash or McCree, dealing with these tracers is unreal, but you know, getting that headshot now, it buys you a ton of time. You see that the Mayhem trying to run somebody down. Beautiful May wall.
I mean, that's the problem here for the Justice. If their composition loses a player early, they're probably going to get run down if they hang around anywhere within line of sight. Florida Mayhem get a bunch of extra ult percentage there, and they have a high ground amplification matrix now.
And you might be able to, if you're the Justice, just play for an EMP. You have the Nano here to build up a Primal Rage, win that way. but what happens in the fight after? Because Florida Mayhem, at least thus far, has shown a really nice ability to be able to run you down with these May walls and get a pick.
We could have a Deadeye Amp Matrix, and remember, there's no Diva for the Justice here. They actually don't have a lot outside of breaking line of sight to deal with McCree, especially not with an Immortality field.
Shatter here, yeah.
Almost gets caught out there. If he gets hacked, that could be game over there for the Mayhem if his shield goes down and they get collapsed on. Although, they're able to avoid it, only just. A little bit of squeaky bum time, if I'm honest, but 64% counts on the clock, and here comes the nanoed Winston. Gangnam Jin, the first target, Immortality Field gets thrown down. Amp Matrix Mag goes over the top, he's frozen, shattered. Oh, the stun lock is real, and the look of disgust on his face. He knows that about every crowd control ability in the game just got leveraged right at him. And he comes off looking decidedly worse for wear. Closer eats the charge. OG is hungry. Look at my belly, he says. No, in fact, get inside of it.
So this has been a complete turn of events. The Justice did end up flipping this. Now, at that time, they had Decay, they have Mag, and they have Assassin still here, lingering around the point. So it'll flip back. You just have Assassin and Decay here, lingering around the point for the Justice, trying to contest.
Assassin perched right on the corner here, the diving board now as he descends, looks for an EMP, gets it. Are the rest of the Justice there to capitalize? It looks like they are, but Gangnam Jin wasn't hit with the EMP. Immortality Field was deployed, but it's not enough to keep Yaki and OG alive, and now it's 4 players left for the Mayhem. Regardless, it's overtime, and these were expenses that were guaranteed for the Justice. Can the Mayhem force them to part with any more of them? It doesn't look like it, Matt.
No. So this will be the point, flipping to the Justice. Mayhem, no reason to switch off of this. So, but where did the Justice decide to play on D? They have to play so spread out, because if the Mayhem see them, playing in one of these hallways or in a spot where they can get a Lucio speed boost up with that May wall, they're going to trap somebody, and there's no Immortality Field to be able to save them. So OG with a Shatter. Even if you get a solo Shatter here, it's worth.
Ana Lucio, closer obviously switching, probably gets back to the point in time, but the speed boost now is kind of handy. You can actually play reactively and disengage. But they want to engage, I think, at this point with the Mayhem positioning themselves on the point. OG has an Earth Shatter here, and there it comes down. BKB is going to fall early in the fight, and Mag gets a Primal Rage. It's going to have to be an Ice Block for Yaki, and Mag turns his attention elsewhere for now. Gangnam Jin falls, and OG's in trouble. This is where the Justice start to inch back into control.
Yeah, so the Justice win this next fight. OG ends up using the Shatter, and he's actually able to connect with Bebe, and Closer's not able to save him, but the damage is already done at that time. You have Blizzard plus Deadeye here for the Florida Mayhem, but that's really it, and you got to watch out for this EMP. So Justice have done a really nice job cycling these ultimates now that they've gotten the point. Now, you may have a sound barrier for this fight or the last one for the Justice, and that may decide it.
Assassin might have to go for the EMP here. Immortality Field's so annoying. He thought he had the finish on Gangnam Jin, but it's not the case. He didn't want to use the EMP, but he might have to now, Matt. The Mayhem are in position. Decay is down. Blizzard thrown out. It's going to catch the rest of the Justice, and that EMP just coming a little bit too late in the day. Assassin wasn't in position to make use of it, and Yaki pounces with the Blizzard for 3.
But it all starts off of BQB being able to take out Decay. With the Tracer here, obviously a large source of damage for the Justice, as it'll be Mag, no, Furyu gets on here playing the ball to get a touch.
I mean, that wall is pretty nasty, but a sound barrier comes out for the Justice. They do lose Assassin though, but at least it's traded. Closer sends BQB straight into the drink here and makes it a 5v5. Gangnam Jin had that Immortality Field now, and did he buy enough time? Decay has to definitely blink away from the Earth Shadow that comes in, but OG still able to catch Bebe and co. Gangnam Jin for 3 in that fight. And the Mayhem fight back here. They look damn good if they have switched to Rush.
It's an Amp Matrix there to help him out as well at the end, but you see the ability there when BQB and Gangnam Jin are able to defend themselves against the Decay and Assassin coming in, whether it be on the Sombra or the Tracer. It's a much different match. Now the Justice, they'll play the Reinhardt-based composition, so both teams looking at least this far like it could be the Reinhardt with the Sigma in play. So this will tell you really like poke, want to play from a distance, try and get some angles.
Now the Justice maybe look less comfortable being forced into this kind of composition, but it doesn't mean they have to be, pigeonholed into a certain composition. They can stay with the Symmetra if they'd like to, and they do. The Mayhem don't. It makes sense. BQB's dangerous. I mean, Assassin goes down early. There's your May wall gone, and yet the Mayhem, the one's actually giving up ground here, oddly enough. Decay's now down, and the Justice are still just going ballistic.
Oh yeah, it's you know, the Justice, when they're starting to rush here, Midge, I think you see that they're not as coordinated as the Mayhem in the rush style compositions. When the game is much more of a dive, free flow, you know, everybody for themselves type of game, that's when you can see, you know, Decay, Assassin, Mag really start to pop off and come to life. At least this far, really early in the series, you've seen when they've had to play. I mean, look, this is another early pick. How many times have we seen BQB or Kingdom Gen start one of these fights off with an early pick-off? You can't have this happen.
I mean, now this fight, the longer it's drawn out, the worse it's going to be for Washington. Assassin, yeah, he gets iced. And it's a dangerous part of the map to play against a flanking McCree map. BQB can just wrap the left side and get some picks. Closer, nicely done, but he'll still be Mayhem in control.
Because this is not the game. Just like how we talked about with the Dallas Fuel, forcing the Shock into things that they don't exactly want to play. You know, you want Fury, very good Sigma, right? But he would love to have him on the D.Va, on the Zarya. You know, Mag, you want him on the Winston, Decay on a Tracer. It forces the Justice off of a lot of the things they want to do.
Gravitic Flux almost online for Fury, and BQB just peering around the corner. Oh, Immortality Field's down, there's an option here. No, BQB surely sees someone behind him. No, Decay's able to get the drop on him, but BQB had already struck gold. Assassin got domed. And the Mayhem still have the numbers here. The Washington Justice really showing some weakness for the first time this season. Okay.
I mean, Decay's not close to the Deadeye here. You know, Gravitic Flux will be online for Gargoyle. Sound Barrier for Slime. The Mayhem, with going to these Reinhardt-based comps, looks to completely sweep the last 2 points of Oasis. It would be a huge telling point for them in the rest of the series.
OG Shadow at the ready. Decay got flashed, but he wins against BQB somehow. Here's the Shadow. The May wall gets in the way at just the right time or the wrong, depending on which team you're a fan of. And it's Mag that's able to catch OG pretty comfortably. And in much the same fashion as the previous round, the Justice can get back in the driver's seat here at the 11th hour.
You're going to get it to 99, though, if you're the Florida Mayhem, so they have to complete massive comeback here, but that's huge. Decay being able to get that first blood. The last few fights before that, it's the Florida Mayhem starting things off. BQB, you know, sitting down right now, but he's been popping off at the beginning of these fights, being able to pick players off. Now if you're Florida, you can play around. You're gonna have Blizzard. You can use the Gravitic Flux to kind of force out a sound barrier, drop a Blizzard underneath. There's a ton you can do here if you're the Mayhem. Just all you got to do is flip the point. It's over.
Try and keep an eye on the periphery here, fans, as BQB's lingering towards that left-hand side. And he'll definitely be looking for a pick from the high ground or just an off angle if he can. And this time, actually, he leads. Okay, he's going to push. Oh, my baby! He got triple shot. The third shot didn't even have to be a headshot from BQB, but he secures the kill nonetheless. Decay probing for a Deadeye. Nothing. Maywall really going to allow the Mayhem to disperse across this point, and they catch Mag out. He's in deep trouble. He's forced to dash away to safety with the charge and absolutely dominated. BQB with that DPS gap over Assassin and Decay. And the Florida Mayhem now, they just sit inside the Immortality Field. The cool breeze teases their cheeks as they smile from ear to ear. They're set up to start this series off with a bang, and BQB sends Bebe packing. What a start for the Florida Mayhem.
And as soon as the Mayhem start to engage on the Justice in these type of compositions and uses the speed boost to try and run them down, instead of the Justice kind of holding serve and what we would say is like really kind of playing the neutral game, right? You know, the May walls come out, the Immortality Fields, the trade of damage. The Justice just run and basically give up all position to the Mayhem. I think now with the Justice obviously losing this first map with their map pick, you're going to see them pick maps that definitely favor these Winston-based compositions. I think it's clear right now that they do not want to play the Florida Mayhem in these Reinhardt mirrors.
Yeah, and it looks like the Mayhem will try and play Rush against the Winston composition, so not all maps will even necessarily work if you try and facilitate that double bubble setup. Quite the way to start a series, I'd say, Matt. The Mayhem look very good early on, but now the Washington have a map pick to make, so we'll see what they choose after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
That's right, the votes are in. Tune into the May Melee tournament from May 6th through 8th, that's next weekend, to earn the Ana Overwatch League home and away skin. Link your account on YouTube today to be eligible. And if you watch my stream at all, you know I'm pretty pleased about this. This is sick. Nice job, everyone who voted. I bet you're pleased about that one. I have to see what we come up with next month. But Matt, so far, the Florida Mayhem, it's just never easy with this team, is it? The calculations never really seem to line up when they get involved. And now it's the 4th seed that lead the first after the first break. As we have a look at these power rankings with IBM Watson for our supports.
It's a different looking Mayhem this year, though. Gangnam Jin, you see him sitting at number 5 here. Both supports for the Justice rank within the top 10. They were rolling throughout the first, 3 weeks of the May Melee Qualifiers, so no surprise to see them there. But a different Florida Mayhem this year. You bring in OGs, a little bit of a wild card, I would say, but where Fate is a much, we do have a sub Jerry coming in for Assassin, where Fate is a very, safe type of player. You don't really kind of play around him. He really enables everybody else to do a lot of different things. OG is a playmaker. He's very aggressive. But then you also bring in Slime, who, remember, he was on the Titans team that played with Bumper, right? I mean, he knows how to play aggressive. And I think he's been an under-the-radar pickup, but a huge addition to this team, a big upgrade over some of the main sports they had last year. And we do have Volskaya coming up next, so this is a clear pick from the Justice to try and play more Winston-based compositions. We see a ton of Winston-based stuff here on Volskaya.
So what does the substitution then of Jerry in for Assassin imply to you, Matt? Because I would have kind of thought that it would be Decay and Assassin for Winston double bubble comps.
Well, we'll see what they decide to play with it, right? You can play Decay on so many different things, right? But we know how good he is on the Tracer. If you wanted to play Tracer with, like, McCree or some other type of hit scan, Jerry would probably be the player to bring it.
Is that standard, or would that be standard with, like, a Winston comp?
It would be a little bit odd, but maybe they want just the ability to switch, right? Maybe they see something where, the Florida Mayhem, if they played, the Tracer, it was a little bit of an issue for them. So right here, there'll be the Florida Mayhem on defense. They'll come out the Wrecking Ball-based composition. Wrecking Ball with the Brig and Zen backline, and they'll put the BQB on Ash, where we casted a game the other day on where it was BQB on Blizzard World, and he was able to really pop off, take control of the high ground alone, but more importantly, deal with an enemy Tracer coming at him over and over and over again. And it's something that he's able to do that a lot of other Ashe players are able to do, just keep himself alive in those Tracer battles. But Decay's got his work cut out for him here. As the Justice, they could opt to play this. They could use the ball, get to the choke, decide what they want to play then. But you do bring Jerry in to play some of that long-range hit scan.
Big difference here is that the Justice roll out. Okay, no, they were coming up with the Yana. They do switch to the Zenyatta. They say, okay, maybe in the event that they were going up against Rush Comp, they wanted something a little bit different, but it will be the Zen. So they will also have the tools to keep OG a little honest. He'll get blown up pretty quickly if he gets discorded and stunned with the shield bash.
They do have Fury here playing the Sigma, which is interesting, because usually you want this Zarya for the bubble onto the ball. It generates a ton of charge for the Zarya, and then also gives